Hello, and welcome back to LTC Heroes Live. I am live from Missouri Healthcare Association 2022 at the Branson Convention in the summer, and I'm joined today by Roy Pace. He's the administrator at Copper Rock Healthcare. Roy, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's a pleasure to be here. Really glad to be here with you today.
Roy, tell me a little bit about how you got into long-term care, and feel free to focus on the details. And I'll tell you what I mean by details. What was the first day, or what's the day that you remember? At what point did you realize that this matters and that you're making a difference in people's life? Any mentors that were inspirational for you? Tell me about your initiation.
Well, there's been a whole lot of those over the years. I think what happened is I probably went through one of the worst times of my life. I went through a divorce and had to kind of start over. And so I went out and applied for a job, and a nursing facility hired me and was going to train me to be a nurse aide. So they put me through their orientation, and I went on the floor, and I had some really older, experienced CNAs that were training me, and honestly, I think probably the first time I got to give someone a hug and and I saw them smile and make a difference helping them, but I really kind of had a culture shock. I didn't realize what it was to work in healthcare. I didn't realize what it was to help someone. I didn't realize that people have some of the problems that they have and that they need someone to assist them, and the stories and the people you could meet through healthcare. I worked a double shift that first day because they needed extra help. I worked a double shift the second day and a double shift the third day, and it always stuck with me. Those 48 hours were like amazing to me. I came away tired, exhausted, and having a whole lot more respect for all those girls who work so hard on that floor every day. I said, I was in the military, and I tell you, my back hurt a little bit by the time I was done with those 3 days. And I said, look at these little ladies who are just out there working their tush off. And I probably took 100 steps for every step that one of them was taking because I just didn't know how to do it. And I just fell in love with it. I mean, that was it. I was done after those first 3 days. And, most people might have run from that, but for me, it was just felt right. I felt like I had a calling for once in life.
Roy, when I was doing my clinical hours as a CNA, I remember my very first day. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and the CNA who was training me, his name was Robert, and he says to me right about 5:07, we're back in the closet getting clean sheets, and we're about to do our first bathing of the day, and he says to me, he goes, "Peter, this job's not hard if you care about people. Now hurry up." Do you remember?
I'm sorry. Yeah, hurry up. Yeah.
Do you remember any?
We always had a task. We always had something we had to do for sure. I probably have a million stories. I don't know if they're all going to come to me, Peter. Because I've done so many things in my career now at this point in my life. It's been a long time ago since I was a CNA, but it always has stuck with me. I've never forgot where I came from, and I knew that every time I took a step, I hoped that every step that I took got to be a chance to make a difference in the lives of the people we cared for. I mean, do I have stories? I do. I mean, just getting with some of those girls, and some of the stories that really stick with me. Probably not the best stories, but I remember them teaching me how to fold a washcloth because you're not going to use gloves, Roy. So we're really going back the day. I remember them teaching me to do some things that, how to tie someone into a bed. And so that's how much healthcare has changed, and thank God for some of those changes. Obviously they needed to happen, but there was so much heart in there. There were people who had been there 20 years, 30 years, and you could just tell there was so much love. And, it just really made me feel good.
Roy, one of the things that I always admire is kind of the lessons that leaders take home with them. And my question for you is, how has long-term care changed how you are as a human being, as a man of your community, maybe with your family, with your cousins, with your siblings? How's it changed you?
Oh, it changed everything. I can't even describe what it's done for me over the years and how blessed I have been to be around so many wonderful and caring people. Now, I've seen the good, I've seen the bad. In any profession, you're going to see that, but it's changed me in so many ways. It's immeasurable. Matter of fact, I think it's all me. I mean, every day, that's who I am. Unfortunately, that can be too consuming, and over the last couple of years, it's been really consuming. I mean, I worried about everything. I think probably worry is a little too much because I never wanted to let the families down. Never wanted to let the patients down or the staff. I felt that every day when I go into work, even today, I felt that I serve the residents and I serve the staff. And if you do those two things, it's as simple as that. So I don't know how to say it changed me. except that it just let me be who I am.
Roy, I talk to leaders at a lot of different conventions, and they always talk about we need to change the perception, what people think about long-term care. My way of trying to help change that perception from LTC Heroes is talking about how inspirational leaders like yourself are. So what I'm going to ask you right now to do is I'm going to ask you to take off your humble hat. And I know this might be hard because I believe you're from Arkansas.
Yeah, I am from Arkansas.
So I don't think Arkansas people are probably very good at bragging about what they're great about. But if a 15-year-old boy or a 15-year-old girl is going to come into long-term care, that generation wants to work with people who have values, where work matters. Can you take off your humble hat and tell me what about some of the great things that you've done in long-term care that you're proud of, that if your family puts that on your tombstone, you say, I'm okay, I could die today, I've done this?
Well, I've been truly blessed. I think, one of the things I learned is to follow God. And so every time I tried to veer off a path, he brought me right back in. But I remember my first opportunity to be a director of nursing, how important it was for me to retain staff and to make a difference in the lives of the patient. I knew if I held on to those staff, I was going to be better and the patients were going to have better lives. I was working at our little small home in Mountain View, Missouri, and I was a director of nursing there for 3 years and went on to become an administrator. And I did so many things. I engaged in the community. I really got out there. When I left, we had a full facility. We had 40 people on a waiting list. I mean, everybody wanted to come to the facility. We were doing an expansion on the home. But how did I do that? I didn't do that. My staff did that. My people did that. I just mastered one thing. Take care of everybody. Take care of the people that work for you. Know them, get to know them, give them praise, show them your appreciation. So I hope that if someone was to write something on my tombstone someday, he was a good man.
Fantastic. I'm interested in, because you're obviously very self-aware, I'm interested in what the pandemic's taught you. How it's changed you for good or bad. Maybe it taught you that, hey, my family is my staff, or maybe it taught you, hey, I got to be a better listener, or hey, I need to take care of my health so I can be a great leader. What have you learned in the last 3 years?
I learned a lot of things in the last couple of years. I think I've never been under the amount of stress that I've been under as I have in the last 2 years. I always have been given challenges in our organization and feel every time there was something that they needed fixed, they would send me to go fix it. And so that's kind of what happened. We were right in the middle of the pandemic. I was at corporate level. We had an administrator decide to resign, didn't have a director of nursing. I've been a director of nursing, I've been an administrator, so I've done those jobs. So they sent me in to take over and hopefully hire the new person. And I got there for a little bit, and they were just like, Roy, this is just who you are. And so I ended up staying at the home. But if you can only imagine, when I got there, staffing was kind of challenged, to say the least. We were in the middle of 21 patients on a COVID wing, and I want things done right. I want those patients to receive the best care. And so, and I had to throw myself into the breach, let's put it that way. Having been in the military, there's times when you just, no matter what your fear is, and, I'm a big guy. One of the things that's been awful for me to not take care of myself, I've taken care of everybody else but not me. And so I threw myself into the breach. Didn't matter what the fear was. I had to do it. I had to be there. And it was my calling, and after all, if something happened to me, that was his will, so.
Roy, I want to talk about, you mentioned your staff and the people underneath you. I want to talk about the characteristics of a great frontline caregiver. What does that person look like for you? If you had to write down on a resume, this person cares about this person's motivated by this person's love language is service, this person listens in this way, how would you describe that person?
I tell you what, all you have to do is watch for a few minutes. When you meet a person, you should be able to tell. You often can tell generally right off the bat, what kind of person you're dealing with. I look for a heart. So when I visit with somebody, when I'm interviewing somebody, you can tell if there's somebody caring. Sometimes it's the little bitty things, maybe they were just a little nicer, or they shook your hand, smile. I always said one of the things that doesn't cost you a thing to give is a smile every day. And if you can walk around and you can give that smile out, sometimes it's the only smile some people get. And so I'm looking for those characteristics. I mean, and you'll really see it play out. If they've got that heart, they got that smiling, they've got that glimmer in their eye, and you get them out there on the floor, it don't take you very long. I can teach skills. Anybody can learn a skill, but I can't teach you that.
You can't teach heart.
No, you can't teach heart, and you can't teach kindness.
Roy, I guess the next thing that I want to ask you is, when you were talking about that person with the twinkle in their eye, a smile on their face, I bet you have somebody in your mind, and I think it's important that we give recognition. Sometimes those caregivers might not be what the definition the press calls a caregiver. They might be a landscaper, or they might be doing the laundry, or they might be doing the food prep. In your organization, who defines that smile on their face that you think of?
I don't know that I can name you one person. There are that many out there that work in my facility. And I'm going to tell you, I had a real blessing today. I nominated one of our CNAs for CNA of the Year, and he won today. This morning, that was the CNA of the Year.
I was there.
So that was my staff member. Does a wonderful job. When someone tries to make a difference and they go out there and they go above and beyond, and I can't tell you how many times the nurses go above and beyond. I don't even think people realize what is asked of the nurses many days, and how much they give of themselves, and it's expected of them to give of themselves, often to the detriment of their own families, because they feel that this is their calling and they have to make a difference. It is not about money, and if it is about money, you're in the wrong profession. We don't need you in this profession. We need you to be here if your heart is in it. And so, it's hard for me to say who. I've been truly blessed with so many. I've run several facilities for our organization. I've had another CNA of the Year at another home. I had Volunteers of the Year, National Volunteer of the Year.
There's a common denominator here, that you're around amazing people.
Yeah.
You must be an amazing leader.
Oh, I don't think I'm anything. I think being an administrator is the easiest job in the world. If you just remember the principles I said. Take care of people. Listen. Thank them. Please. Figure a way to get back.
You're passionate about this.
Oh, yeah.
I can see it. Yeah. When I talk to minds and hearts like yours, I always get teared up.
Oh, yeah.
You and I are going to be crying here in Branson in a couple minutes. What's your leadership style? Are you a person who does it first and then leads by an example? Are you a person who inspires?
I try to inspire people. I try to do. I'm not going to say that I'm too good to do anything. I mean, obviously not. I wish I was in a little bit better shape and a little younger, as I used to be. I hope to be there again, but so I'm not as good at doing some of the things I used to be able to do. So I just help any way I can. So whatever they need help, I try to look and say. So one of the biggest things that I've had to do in this pandemic, and in this challenge, was hire people. I had a new director of nursing, I had a new team. I'm trying to mentor a new leadership group, and they were struggling. Everybody was struggling. So I threw myself into the hat of hiring, and I was bound and determined I was going to hire and keep on hiring until we got the right people in that building. And I've hired a lot of people, unfortunately. There's just a lot of people who want to be in healthcare, but they just don't understand what that means and what that entails. And so we went through a lot, but we're getting better and better every day. And so that's what I did, is I just kind of made sure they always knew I appreciated them, whatever I could do, little things. I have a lot of things I do for my staff. It'd probably take me a while to go through the list with you. It's up to you how much you want to hear today,
I before we move on to some quotes, and I want to get your opinion on it, I want to do a small break and thank our sponsors.
Yeah.
Okay, confession time. Yes, I host the LTC Heroes podcast. Hopefully you know that by now, but I can't take all the credit. I have to thank Jason Long, the CEO of Experience Care. He told me to start this platform 2 years ago, and without their support, we wouldn't be here today. Go over to visit experience.care to see the best EHR in the market. Also, a special thank you to Missouri Healthcare Association for inviting LTC Heroes to this special convention. If you like the show, go over to ltcheroes.com and subscribe today. Thank you. Roy, quotes that make us think. I'm going to throw a couple at you and get your opinion on them. The reason I like this next one is from Oscar Wilde, and the reason I like it is because it makes me think about who I might be if I weren't working in long-term care. And it says, the best way to appreciate your job is to imagine yourself without one. who would you be without long-term care?
I wouldn't be Roy. So, you get a chance to make a difference. You find your calling. There's no greater purpose. So, I can't imagine. But I'm always still a nurse, so, just nursing in general. I will tell you that for the first time, this was one of those years or last couple of years where you go, do I really want to be the leader of all this? But then I said, if I'm not the leader, who's going to fill that breach? Who's going to fill that spot? Who's going to make sure these people are taken care of? And so, I had to reflect upon that because it's a lot easier just to get up in the morning and go take care of some patients and go home. Well, I don't get to do that. I have to take care of 90 patients, 100 and some employees and all their families on both sides of the spectrum, the families of those employees and the families of those residents who live with us. And so it's a life, it just takes over your whole life.
The next question, Roy, is kind of a sister cousin question to that, and it comes from Ray Lewis, the football player. And the reason I like this quote, because it often makes me think about what is the part of the job that's easiest for me. And the quote goes like this: they pay me for Monday through Saturday. Sundays are for free. He's basically saying you only pay me for practice. I play games for free. What part of your job is your Sunday football game that you would do it for free whether you got paid or not?
Honestly, this has never been about money. I'd probably do it for free, but don't you tell anybody that. Don't you dare tell anybody that because I got a family to support.
Right.
It's never been about money, unfortunately. It's never been a thing. I never reached for that. It was given to me. I've gotten it. I've been truly blessed. And, I think when a person is blessed with things given to them, our obligation is to give back. And so, I practice that every day. I give back to my staff. My wife would tell you she displayed it really well, probably. I think, for me, again, every day is I give them free.
Roy, I want to move into some rapid fire questions, and if you don't know the answer, just say Peter, pass.
Okay.
The first question I have for you is, do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if there's a favorite failure. I think I failed in a marriage. I failed in my first marriage, but out of that failure came the greatest thing for me. It came long-term care.
Do you have, next rapid fire question, what bad recommendations do you hear in our profession?
Bad recommendations. What do you mean by that? I don't know what a bad recommendation. You mean where there's negatives about our profession?
Or maybe climb the ladder, or maybe get out of it.
Or
work at a big facility, or.
Well, I think one of the bad recommendations I hear a lot is, if you want to be a nurse, go to a hospital. Well, buddy, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not true. I worked as a CNA in a nursing home and long-term care environment, and I worked my way up the ladder. I became a med tech, and then I went on to become I was even an activity director for 6 months. I'm sure that, I don't know if that surprises you or not, but I was never afraid of a challenge, and so being an activity director was another way to have fun with the residents, and I really loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I wanted to be a nurse, and so I went to LPN school. And when I went to LPN school, it's like, okay, so you're a nursing home nurse. And so I graduated from LPN school, went to work as LPN for 4 or 5 years, and so I wanted to go on to RN school, but you got a family. You're trying to raise your family. How are you going to do that? How are you going to afford to do that? And I had a moment, in that really amazing moment, and I think that's why I get a little emotional sometimes, because I was taking care of a patient, just like I take care of a patient every day. It was a hospice patient. The patient was dying. I just went in that room, frequently. That's what you're supposed to do. I made sure that patient was in pain. I made sure that patient was turned and loved and cared for, and the family was taken care of. Just normal. I know they remember who you are, and we don't always remember who all of them are, because after many, many years, you touch many, many lives. And but I wanted to be a registered nurse. Couldn't do it necessarily. I had taken college before, so I had some. But anyway, I got called into my administrator's office probably about, 6 weeks later or so. He said, Roy, a family has donated $2,500 for you to go to RN school. So I said, that's my reason. And so I went out the next day and enrolled in a program and said, I'm going to become a registered nurse, and I'm going to do it in memory of them and
Wow.
that patient.
Wow. That changed your life forever.
It did.
Yeah.
So that one great act of kindness that they did made a difference for me, and now I want to make a difference for others every day.
Roy, thank you for sharing that. I love your vulnerability. I do a lot of conferences, and every single conference, I always meet somebody who says something to me or strikes me in a way that I'll never forget them. And Roy, you're that person today.
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm sorry I get a little emotional, but some of those things in life, I think you got to have a little emotion. If you're going to care about something, this is a calling. And if you don't have emotion and your heart's not in it, I hope you find something else to do.
Roy, my last question for you, rapid fire, is if you could have one giant billboard out on a highway somewhere close to your house that thousands and hundreds of thousands of people might see when they drive past it during a year, what would that giant billboard say and why?
Don't forget to hug and love someone today.
Roy, thank you so much for joining us. I
You're
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Want to connect with leaders in long-term care? Go to www.ltcheroes.com to join our community on Facebook and LinkedIn. Get exclusive access to marketing tips, SOPs, and insights from prominent voices in the industry. Only at ltcheroes.com.